Hello, my name is Brett Horowitz, and I want to present to you a presentation I'm doing on the recent Social Security changes and strategies, and what does it mean for our clients. So I've got a presentation here. It's going to last about 45 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less. I want to go through a couple of main topics today that I think will be useful to you. Number one, what are the main rules of Social Security? Two, we're going to talk about the case studies of some strategies. And three, how the changes to the system have affected our clients. A lot has happened in the last few months with the Bipartisan Budget Act, and so I've gotten a lot of questions about what does it mean, what changes have happened, what strategies are in effect. We're going to go through all those things in a little bit of detail here in the coming minutes. The first slide, 2728, this refers to the number of chapters in the Social Security handbook. So while the handbook is quite extensive, and I am sort of the resident expert of Social Security here in the office, it doesn't mean I know everything about everything. And so what I'm going to use is the moniker KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I really want to focus on the main points that I think are most valuable to our clients, and not get into really the nuances of the nitty-gritty about all the minor things that maybe don't affect most people. What started for us, started for me at least, back in 2007 with an article in the Wall Street Journal. And in this article, it talks about George at his full retirement age of 66, expects a benefit of $2,000 a month. His wife Martha, at her full retirement age of 66, expects a benefit of $1,000 a month. And the reason I bold and highlighted in red their ages and benefits is that in most articles that I've seen, the husband and wife are the same ages, where the benefit is one half of the other spouse's benefit, or just really cookie-cutter scenarios. And what I think about is sort of this picture here, that we're not all unique. We're not all the same. We don't all have 2.1 children on average because we all have our individual circumstances. And when I tried to look and see, you know, what would happen if George was 68, or what happened if Martha was 62, or was a homemaker and had no benefits, or what if she was passed away already, I had a hard time finding out exactly how the system worked. So the first thing I did was I tried calling and emailing any journalist who had written an article on the topic. Okay, so there's lots of articles that were in the web, and I wrote to those journalists and said, what happens if you change the variables just slightly? And what I found was that most people didn't seem to know enough of the details as to how Social Security worked in order to give me the level that I needed to help our clients make decisions. I then went to the Social Security office thinking where best to find this information other than the source. And just an interesting story I'll share with you. I went there the first time and brought with me about a pile of books and articles with different strategies and rules and so forth that I had read, and said, can you help me figure out which of these are true, which are not true, and, you know, how things actually work. Before you know it, about 5 or 6 people were huddled around the desk reading the information I had brought to the table. Some said things were true, some said things were not true, some said things that were not even written were in existence. And so I ended up feeling quite lost when I left, and actually more confused than when I even started. Now, I don't blame them because the rules are so complicated, but we have to know that if you go to the office, it's not like you're going to get someone there that knows everything about the system, and quite frankly, their best advice is sort of giving you the plain and simple advice. They're not there to help you figure out how to maximize your benefits. One note that I read even in one of the articles was this. It said some Social Security representatives we spoke with weren't aware of this strategy. We're going to talk about the strategies in a little bit. If you try this at your local Social Security office, at the staff box, ask them to confirm the strategy with Social Security headquarters in Baltimore, which confirmed it for us. So this is my first, finally, foray into somebody that could give me some good information. And I was able to contact the press office in the headquarters in Baltimore and find someone who could take every question I had and get so granular that everything started to make sense. They confirmed everything that I had read. They negated things that I had not read. And finally, things sort of became clear to me as to how Social Security actually worked. So I ended up building my own spreadsheet. It had about 17,000 rows in it. It had over 100 columns. And I was really looking to see all the different options that were out there, what would work best for each individual client. If I put in your benefits, potentially your spouse's benefits, and your ages, what is the best solution for each person? Well, fast forward now 8 years, and now there's a lot of research that's out there on the subject that's pretty good in the media, and now MoneyGuide Pro, which is our firm's customized planning software, now has its own analysis, where basically it does the same thing that my spreadsheet does. It looks at every option available to a client, looks to see how to maximize benefits, and looks to see what will give our clients the highest probability of success. Now, I make a point here that all of the software and my spreadsheet is looking at the quantitative best answer. If you're in the camp that believes Social Security is going to be gone in 15 years, it'll be means tested, there'll be major changes, and you want to get what you can take now, by all means, that may overwrite the quantitative results. I will say, though, that based on everything I've read, the system appears in pretty good shape for the next 15 years, and even after that, it should pay about 75 to 80% of benefits, barring any new changes. And when I've looked at articles about what changes could happen, they've talked about raising retirement ages or changing the taxability of Social Security as a couple of very small changes that could put the system on solid footing. So it's not in nearly as bad a shape as Medicare has been. So a couple of big reasons to pay attention today. The potential benefit of using some of the strategies we'll talk about is in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. So these are really large benefits that you would get by using something. It affects everyone. So whether you're single, married, divorced, or widowed, I can't imagine anybody on this call is not in one of those camps. There's a strategy in here for you, some rule that you may not have been aware of. Your decision could greatly impact someone else. We'll talk about that in a little bit. If you're already receiving benefits, there's even strategies for you, so it's not too late. And finally, you could benefit somebody else who may have already started taking benefits or maybe has not yet and is thinking about it. Because when I ask most people, why did they take benefits at a certain age, the most common answer is because my best friend did it then, because my uncle told me to do this, whatever the reason is, it's usually because of somebody else telling them what to do. So if I can instill with you some of my knowledge, we can provide this knowledge to more and more people to make sure they make the right decision. So for an overview, there's 4 ways to collect benefits. You have to have been employed for 10 years or 40 quarters to have a minimum to collect benefits. If you're married for at least 1 year. Divorced, you must have married for at least 10 years and not remarried. And widowed, married at least to a deceased spouse at least 9 months prior to death. All 4 of those will give you an option to collect your own benefits, spousal benefits, or widower benefits. Now, even though you need 10 years to qualify, the actual calculation is based on 35 years of inflation-adjusted earnings. For every year you do not have earnings, a 0 goes in that row. And so they add up all 35 years and figure out what the benefit is based on those numbers. A lot of people are concerned that when they retire, let's say they want to work part-time as a consultant, that's going to decrease their benefits. Okay? I hear that quite a bit. The fact is, if those part-time earnings are not higher than your other 35 years, you're not going to be impacted at all. If it is higher, or if you do not have 35 years of earnings, this will increase your benefit even if you're already taking benefits. So someone who's 66 years old and is already collecting Social Security and still working could still increase their benefit going forward if one of these earning years replaces a lower earning year or a year where there was no earnings, if you did not have 35 years of earnings. Okay, so don't turn down that chance to work part-time, even if you're already taking benefits or not. Now, the table for someone born in 1949 shows a full retirement age of 66, so FRA is full retirement age, and a primary insurance amount, PIA, of $20,000. This primary insurance amount is the amount you would collect at your full retirement age. You can see here that as you take earlier than full retirement age, you're penalized by about 6.5% per year. And as you delay past 66, you get a credit of about 8% per year. The difference between 62 and 70 is 76%. in total benefits. Okay? Now, the system is designed to be actuarially equivalent, which means that if you live to your, quote, normal life expectancy, all the options should be roughly the same. So whether you start early with a lower benefit or start late with a higher benefit, it should come out roughly the same if you live to a normal life expectancy. Now, when we talk about normal life expectancy, we know that each of our clients is unique. And so what I would ask you to ponder is, what is your health compared to the average person? And what is your family history? Do you have long lives in your family or short lives in your family? Because those two factors may make you more or less inclined to take benefits early or take benefits late. Finally, what I want you to think about is probability versus consequence. Okay, so here's a picture of a race car, a biker, flying through the sky, jumping over a bunch of cars, hopefully landing on the other ramp, and there's a 95% probability that his jump will be successful and that he'll come out unscathed. If I ask most people, would you take this risk, they might really give him a hard time or say no to it, because that 5% of failure is a pretty gruesome result. And so what I use the analogy to is that life expectancy, there is an average number. Okay, Social Security says it's in the early to mid-80s. And your probability of dying before then or living longer than them is about 50% each. Right? That's how you get the average of the mid-80s. However, the consequence is very different. The consequence of dying early means, well, you probably could have spent a little bit more. You probably could have had more fun with your money. But your plan, and the fact is you're not going to run out of money because you died early. The consequence of living a long time is that if you live to 95, if you live to 100, 105, that Social Security benefit is going to come in really handy, because they will pay you for as long as the system is around for the rest of your life with an inflation adjustment built in every year. Okay? So again, don't just think of the probability. The probability is I'm going to die early, I'm going to live long. What is the consequence of one versus the other? Now, there is an earnings test for Social Security. So if you collect benefits before your full retirement age and earn too much money, you would be penalized through this earnings test. Another key point to note, though, is that there is no penalty once you reach your full retirement age. Okay? So if you're 66 years old and you started collecting benefits 4 years ago, once you reach 66, there is no penalty. As much money as you want to earn, you will not lose any of your benefits. If you are taking Social Security before 66 and are working and earning too much, there could be a penalty at that point. However, the myth is that the loss of benefits is not permanent. It's actually just temporary. Okay? So what am I talking about here? Here's a quick example of a husband who applied for his benefits at age 62 and was supposed to receive $1,500 a month. But because his earnings were high, he actually ended up receiving nothing. So he applied early, didn't think he was going to work. He actually worked, and for that 4-year period, actually collected nothing in benefits. So he's thinking, man, I made a horrible decision here. What actually happens is when he turns 66, he will get 48 months of credits from the Social Security office. Because he received nothing for 48 months between 62 and 66, he will get a credit for every month that he missed Social Security benefits. And when he turns 66, Social Security will now begin paying him $2,000 a month. So it's as if nothing ever happened. He tried to get benefits early. It didn't work. He didn't receive any benefits. And so when he turns 66, they're going to give him his normal benefit again, which is $2,000 a month. Okay? So again, key point, if you have an opportunity to work, whether you're working part-time, whether you're collecting benefits, don't pass on that, because there is no permanent downside in doing so. Even if you're penalized, you get that penalty credit back. You get the penalty back with a credit. So don't turn down that option to work, because there's not going to be any kind of permanent penalty applied to you. One of the most common questions we get is about what happens if I have my own benefits and I'm also entitled to spousal benefits. Okay, you've got a homemaker as one of the spouses, or one of the spouses had a very short career and the other worked a very long time. A couple of things to note. If you are married or divorced and are the lower earning spouse, and your spouse has already claimed benefits, you will receive the greater of your own benefit or up to half of your spouse's benefit. Okay? What you need to focus on is the underlying line. In order to collect the spousal benefits, your spouse must have already claimed benefits, must have already filed for benefits. Okay? So if your spouse is waiting until 70 and you're going to get half of their benefit and you're ready to file, you will not be able to get those spousal benefits. You will only be able to get your own benefits until that spouse files. Both spouses cannot collect spousal benefits at the same time. Okay, so you cannot collect theirs while they collect yours. It's only one or the other. And what's really important is something called the deemed filing rules that apply prior to full retirement age. This means that if you're before your full retirement age and you apply for benefits, either your own benefits or spousal benefits, the Social Security Administration will do a calculation and compare which one is higher, and they will automatically give you the higher of the two. You do not have a choice to only collect one benefit versus the other. Okay? So before full retirement age, if you apply for one, you must apply for both, and you get the higher of the two. Now, you don't necessarily receive both, again, because you only receive the second one, the spousal benefit, if your spouse has already filed. But if you do apply, you must get the higher of the two. You can't choose one versus the other. Once you hit full retirement age, you have a lot more options. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So again, before full retirement age, you have no choice. Once you claim one, you must claim the other. After full retirement age, you then have more options available. So here's an example here. The top chart shows Joe, who's got his benefit, again, PIA is the benefit at his full retirement age of $2,000, and Mary's PIA benefit is just $100 a month. At 66, Mary's $1,000, which is half of Joe's, is actually made up of two parts: her own benefit of $100 plus her spousal benefit is $900 to give her the full $1,000. If she starts earlier than 66, she's not automatically locked into getting half because she will be penalized both from her own and from spousal. So to the extent she starts as early as 62, she's only getting roughly 35% of Joe's benefit, not the full 50%. So just because you're a low-earning spouse does not mean you're guaranteed to get 50%. The only way to get 50% is to wait till at least your full retirement age. Okay. Now let's take one more little quick example. What if Joe's got the $2,000 a month in PIA benefit, but Mary's benefit is $1,100 a month? If Mary decides that she's going to take benefits as early as 62, she will be reduced by 25%, right? She's getting a penalty for taking early, and will get $825 a month. However, she will not get any spousal benefits. Okay? Just because she's receiving less than half of Joe's does not mean she's automatically entitled to an extra $175. Because her benefit is more than half of Joe's, she is not eligible for any more benefits. Okay? So if she made the decision to start benefits early, she's not going to get a bonus of $175 because her benefit, $1,100, is more than half of Joe's $2,000. Now, when we look at someone who's got their own benefits and potentially widow benefits, let's look at what happens here. Once a spouse passes away, their surviving spouse receives the greater between their own benefit and the deceased spouse's benefit. Okay, so let's look at an example again here. So here's Joe and Mary with the same $2,000 and $100. Pre-death, Mary is going to receive $100 for her own and $900 spousal for a total of $1,000. If Joe had collected benefits at 62 and was collecting $1,500 a month, Mary would then get $1,500 a month. If Joe waited till 66 or 70 and was getting a higher benefit, Mary would then get a higher benefit. So this is something I mentioned before, which is your decision on when to collect benefits could greatly influence what your spouse receives. And I'll take it even one step further. I've had clients who have said, you know, I don't think I'm going, I've had some medical issues. I don't know if I'm going to live till the average. I don't think I'm going to make it to, let's say, the early 70s. I'm just going to take what I can get. So I'm going to take benefits at 62 so I get something for the next 10, 15 years. Now, what that person is doing is not only they're able to take something, but they're also impacting what their spouse gets for the rest of their life. Okay? So there may even be a case where even if Joe passes away at 75, it's better for Joe to have waited till 70 to collect benefits because he's getting a higher amount and then Mary will get a higher amount. And the point I'm making here is that we do not want to think of any one spouse in isolation. We want to think of the cumulative family benefit as what you're trying to maximize. I don't want to maximize what Joe gets. I don't want to maximize what Mary gets. I want to maximize what the two of them together get. And sometimes by Joe waiting and Mary, it ends up being a higher benefit, even if Joe does pass away early. Okay, so those are the basic rules. I'm now going to talk about some strategies that are in place now and some changes that have happened to those strategies. They all are legal. They've all been confirmed by the press office that I've spoken to. And I can't say for certain if they're going to be around forever because there has been a number of changes in the last few years. So I'm just going to talk about where they stand as of today. So the first rule that you may have heard about, or the first strategy you may have heard about, was something called the reset. So if you accidentally or intentionally claimed early benefits, you could repay the benefits received penalty-free and interest-free, and restart at a later and higher benefit rate. So let's say somebody started at age 62 and received benefits for 7 years, and at age 70 they said, you know what, that was the wrong decision. I've learned more, I'm more educated about Social Security, I should not have done that, I'm going to repay everything I received. Again, penalty-free, interest-free, and maybe I made a lot of money growing those benefits in the market over the last 7 years. So I'm going to keep the money I made, but just pay back the benefits. And at 70, I'm going to flip back to my age 70 benefits. Okay? Unfortunately, that has gone the way of the dodo bird. It is no longer in existence anymore. They do not want people taking advantage of this perceived loophole. So the do-over now has been changed to only once within the first 12 months. So if you started collecting benefits within the last 12 months, you can repay them and restart at a later time. Once you're past your 12 months, unfortunately, you are locked into that number. Okay? And there are some things you can do, but this is not one of them. You cannot repay and restart later on. The second strategy is something called filing a restricted application. Okay? This is where husband and wife, or husband and husband, or spouse and spouse have very similar benefits. Both have had working careers, and both have very high Social Security benefits. So here's a case directly from clients I've worked with. Margaret is 68. She started collecting benefits 6 years ago. So instead of getting $1,800 a month, she's getting $1,350 a month. Okay, she was penalized for taking early. Stephen is 65. He would be getting $2,100 a month next year at his full retirement age of 66, but he's going to delay till 70. He's still working, doesn't need the money, and will eventually be getting the $2,772 a month, which is his 8% per year in credits for the next 4 years. Okay, so let's look at a normal scenario. Absent any kind of secret strategies, what would a typical couple do? Okay, so we've got Margaret's age, we've got Stephen's age. Margaret's collecting the $1,350 a month, which is $16,200 every year. Now, in reality, she would have cost of living adjustments each year if there were any, but I'm just going to keep things simple with the same numbers so you can see how things work out. Margaret is not able to have any spousal benefits because her amount of $1,800 is more than half of Stephen's $2,100. In a normal environment, Stephen's going to delay till age 70, so every year he waits, nothing comes in. Finally, when he turns 70, he gets his $2,772 a month, or $33,000. The family now has a nice bump up in benefits that year, collecting $49,000. This is typical. Okay. Now let's talk about what you or I or somebody could do if they really know the secret Social Security rules. Okay. Second year here, same chart, but all of a sudden we see Stephen now with $10,800 of benefits. And you're going to say, what's going on? What's happening with this file a restricted application? Okay. What is happening is that when Stephen hits his full retirement age of 66, he is going to go to the Social Security office. He will tell them, I want to file a restricted application. I do not want to file for my own benefits. I want to file only for spousal benefits. Okay. Now this is important. We talked about before. when someone is before their full retirement age, if you apply for one benefit, your own, you must apply for the other, spousal. You apply for spousal, you must apply for your own. Once you turn full retirement age, you have the option to only apply for one. So in this case, he's going to file for only spousal benefits. His spousal benefits will be half of her age 66 amount, which is $900 a month, times 12, and he will receive that every year for the next 4 years. It is not affecting what he will receive at age 70. He will then go over to his own benefit then, and it is not affecting at all what Margaret has received during her career. So this is an additional $43,000 of benefits by probably spending literally no more than 25 minutes at the local Social Security office. Okay, a huge win for somebody. And again, you're not affecting any other amounts. You're not affecting Margaret. You're not affecting Stephen, what he will get at 70. All you're picking up is 4 years of spousal benefits starting at full retirement age. Now, this works for a couple of reasons. Number one, it works because Stephen can collect spousal benefits because Margaret is already collecting her own, right? In order to collect spousal, we talked about this earlier, you can only collect spousal on a spouse that has already filed and is receiving benefits. So that's why Stephen is able to collect on Margaret's amount. Okay. It also works because Stephen is at least full retirement age. Now let's look at how the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 impacted this. Okay. If you were born in 1953 or earlier, so if you turned 62 years of age by the end of 2015, you are grandfathered in and can use this strategy whenever you want going forward. Okay. So even if you're only 62 years now, and you obviously cannot use the strategy for another 4 years because you have to be at least full retirement age to do this, you will be grandfathered in and can use it at some point down the road. If you were born after 53, now they changed what deemed filing means. And now they're saying no matter what age, if you apply for one benefit, you are in effect applying for the other. And will receive the greater of the two going forward. So going back to our example, even if Stephen now, if he's, let's say, 61 years old and wanted to attempt this when he turned 66, he would not be able to get just spousal benefits here because he now has to apply for one or the other and get the greater of the two. So they will not give him $900 a month. They will now give him $2,100 a month, his own benefit, and he doesn't have the option to choose one versus the other. Okay? So if you're 62 or older, great news. For the next 8 years, you can still use this. If you're under 62, unfortunately, this is no longer available for you. Now, the last secret strategy we're going to talk about is file and suspend. Okay, file and suspend works very well when you've got two spouses with very different benefits. It also works in a few other scenarios, but let's start with the main point where most people are actually applying to use this. So here's a scenario with Anne, who's 66 years old, and started collecting benefits now, and is getting only $100 a month. Okay, likely stayed home with the kids her whole life, raising the family, and so her benefit is quite small. Bill is 65. Again, would get $2,100 a month next year, but is going to delay till 70 to get the full amount because he does not need the benefit, does not need the money right now. In a typical situation, we've got the chart set up with Ann's age, Bill's age, and Bill, again, as we said, is going to wait till 70 and collect his $2,772 a month, or $33,000. Anne, every year, will get her $1,200. Even though she's 66 and would be eligible for the half of Bill's, because Bill has not filed, means that Anne cannot pick up her spousal benefits until finally that year that Bill files. Okay? So she's stuck in all these years not getting her spousal benefits because Bill has made, probably a wise decision, the decision to wait till age 70. And it's wise only because if Bill passes away, he's now really helped Anne pick up a huge amount of her benefits. So this is what the average husband and wife or average spouse and spouse are going to do in this situation. Where the strategy comes in is as follows. In year 2, we see that Anne's picking up $11,400, about 4 years earlier than we had in the previous slide. Okay, this is where the file and suspend strategy comes in effect. Bill, at his age 66, is going to file and suspend. He's going to go to the Social Security office. He's going to say, I want to file for benefits, but I do not want to receive anything. Okay, do not send me any benefits in the mail. But because he's technically filed, now it gives Ann the ability to pick up those spousal benefits. Okay, as we talked about before, Ann can get spousal only when Bill files. Because Bill's filed, she now can get spousal benefits. Bill cannot do this prior to full retirement age. Okay, so don't think that Bill can do this earlier than 66. Otherwise, they will not allow him to file and suspend. Once he files, that's it. He's locked in. But once you turn full retirement age, you have all these new options at your disposal. So for the next 4 years, Ann will pick up her $11,400. It's not impacting what she gets, what either one of them gets in this last row here. And so what you've got is, again, a 25-minute trip to the Social Security office is going to pick you up $45,000 plus in Social Security benefits. I mean, this is huge. It's really not a lot of time at all. It's completely legal, and it'll make you a lot of money if you fall into a situation where this could work for you. Now, a couple different uses for this rule for other people. What if you've already filed? Okay, you can actually still file and suspend. Okay, so here's how this works. You or somebody you know at age 62 started collecting benefits early and got $15,000 per year. At age 66, you decide, you know what, that was a mistake. I can't do the reset, right? I can't repay everything I made and restart at a later date because that strategy is gone, but I can suspend at 66. I can call the office or submit a form and say, please stop sending me my benefits. Okay? Why would you do that? Because potentially at age 70, if you had them to reinstate your benefits, you would then start collecting $21,400 and picking up a 32% credit. Okay? So I've used this for other couples. I've used this for situations where clients took early, it was a mistake, they had not consulted with us, maybe this was before they became clients, and we said, look, for the next 4 years, we're going to take more money out of your portfolio. We understand that there's a risk there, but on the flip side, you're going to pick up a whole amount more of benefits, and potentially if this person were to pass away, that could really help your spouse as well. So there is some risk involved in doing this, but in a lot of cases it makes sense because you're talking about an 8% per year guaranteed credit for those 4 years. A pretty good return based on what the markets have done, at least recently. In another case that this strategy can be used is when someone, for a single person, when someone does not have a spouse. Okay, so here's what happens in this case. Someone who's 66 and single can choose to file and suspend. And you would say, well, why would I ever want to file and suspend? Because as we saw before, the file and suspend mainly helps a spouse file for benefits, right? It mainly helps a spouse actually receive some benefits while you're waiting. Well, if this person at 69 all of a sudden changed their mind or developed some kind of terminal disease, and they say, you know what, that was a horrible decision to have waited or not to have taken benefits before. I really should have taken something because now I'm 3 years later and I received nothing during this whole point in time. Well, you can actually apply for a retroactive lump sum benefit for any month that payments were suspended. Okay, so in this case, this person would be able to get their age 66 benefit in a lump sum, which was $20,000 per year for all 3 years between 66 and 69. Okay, so that's talking about $60,000 in benefits for that 3-year period. So it's probably not a big downside to do this because if you choose to, if you're going to delay benefits past 66 anyway, might as well file and suspend at 66 if you're single because you can always choose to take a lump sum later on. So those are the rules. Now let's talk about how the recent Budget Act changed the rules. This strategy has a much more limited window. It can only be used in the next basically 6 months from when the act was put in place. So before May 1st, before the end of April, you must have used this if you want to use this. Otherwise, after May, and I'm sorry, right, if you've already utilized the strategy, it can continue. Okay, so if years ago you did a file and suspend, that will still continue even if past May of 2016. And after May of 2016, if you suspend benefits, all individuals who are eligible in that person's records will have their benefits suspended. So as we saw before, Bill wanted to file and suspend at 66 so that Ann could get benefits. If Bill files and suspends, that no longer allows Ann to get her spousal benefits. Ann now has to suspend as well. Okay? So because he's suspending and because she's receiving benefits on his record, she has to have her benefits suspended as well. So it does limit the use of this quite a bit after May of 2016. Before I get to that slide, one more thing to point out here is that we go back to the strategies. This strategy about collecting early and then suspending at 66 will continue even though the file and suspend strategy timeline has been terminated in May of 16. So beyond that, you can still use this part of the file and suspend going forward. There is no time limit as to when this will expire. However, the file and suspend for a single person to get the retroactive lump sum benefits, that will go away after May of 16 as well. Okay, so the use of file and suspend has been curtailed quite a bit. It can be used in certain situations, but not in many of them that we've been using them previously. So the takeaway to the call, number one, unfortunately, don't rely on Social Security office. They're there to process what you want to do. They're not there to help you figure out what strategy is best for you. They're not there to help you determine what's going to make more sense. And they're not going to have all the informed information that you'd expect from the office that's actually making these decisions. Focus on your own health and family history and cumulative benefits. So don't just rely on the average statistics. Look at your unique situation, determine when potentially you should take benefits. And again, don't think about it in terms of trying to maximize your benefit or your spouse's benefits, but instead the cumulative family benefits. I've written a number of white papers on these different subjects. I've done some case studies on the strategies. I've talked about all these different things here. It's sort of more of a storybook format. So if you want any copies of those white papers, I'm going to have my contact information on the last slide. Feel free to email me or call me. I'd be happy to send those to you so you can read them on your own free time. Finally, if you have not already, let us put you through Money Guide Pro, which is, again, our planning software that we use to help make so many decisions in the best ways for our clients. Let us help set up a customized financial plan for you so that we can model what makes sense. Beyond Social Security, Money Guide really helps making decisions when it comes to retirement, when it comes to making decisions about allocations, when it comes to making decisions about buying or selling houses. There's lots of ways that we use Money Guide Pro. Social Security is just one of them. And finally, if all else fails, contact me. What we don't want is your retirement cake to look like this. Congratulations on your new job instead. Hopefully this helps people pick up some benefits along the way. Because here's my contact information. Again, any questions, feel free to email me or call me. I do have a contact in the press office, so if it's something I don't know, I should be able to get the answer for you by talking to the person that I know. But I really hope this has been valuable to you. There's a lot of things out there that you probably not were aware of, a lot of myths that I've heard as I've talked to clients over the years. And hopefully, maybe you're not able to process everything on these slides and figure out what makes sense for you. So I would say please allow us to do as much work as we can do for you, because really the value is we've gone through these thousands of times, and it's very easy to see what makes sense in each person's situation. So I hope it's given you some things to think about. I hope you'll share this with your friends and relatives so that they can make strong decisions as well. And with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great day. Thank you.